So hi, welcome to the Good Noise Podcast with 8 Graves. We're going to ask them some questions today. I'm going to start. So what inspired you guys to start the band, and then what does the band name mean?
The band name was just a shot in the dark. At first we came up with like a bunch of different names. It came to Graves, found out it already existed, and then 8 Graves sounded nice, like just kind of rolled with the A vowel. And then we kind of retrofitted a reason behind it. Mm-hmm. Right? You say it better than I do.
It was kind of your idea.
Was it?
Well, Nick and I have been in a lot of bands together.
Yeah.
And we always say, like, we're like musical felines. We have 9 lives. Mm-hmm. So now it's like we have 9 lives and kind of 8 graves. We know this is probably our last chance to really kind of make something work. And so it's kind of our last chance. So
yeah.
I really like that.
That is so cool. Oh my God.
So it's also as you know, that kind of sounds desperate and dire, but at the same time for us, I also like to always say that I think it also represents that as long as you have like kind of one last chance, you can make something happen, right? So it's also about not giving up, you know, no matter how many times you fail. What's the saying? Fall down 7 times, stand up 8 or whatever, right? So it's kind of like that too. Like no matter how many times that something goes wrong for you, as long as you're willing to try again, you can hopefully make it work. So it's also, I try to put a positive spin on it too. Mm-hmm. And as far as why we chose to do it, we just really like making music, you know?
That's valid.
Yep.
Yeah.
For me, expressing myself through writing has become a huge coping mechanism for me. It's a huge way that I deal with a lot of the negative things that I feel. So me getting it out is really important. It's literally helps me survive, you know? So just being able to express myself is really helpful to me mentally. And thankfully I have a friend to help me do it, you know? So
how wholesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 9 lives thing though, I think this one's working out for you guys. I'm just gonna
throw
that out there.
Yeah.
So.
Hey man, it's tough, you know. Like you got Kanye West complaining he's not making enough money, right?
Yeah.
So
I mean, you're right.
It's hard, you know. It's definitely difficult.
And then I'm gonna steal Glory's question here. You guys said you had other names. Do you remember any of them?
Oh, other bands?
No, like the other band names for this project.
Oh,
you said you had a couple other.
For 8 Graves, I don't remember what else.
I don't remember. I know. So at one time we had another person managing us and helping us, and he managed an artist who's very, very creative, and he was like, "Oh, he's gonna come up with some names." And I remember the names being particularly terrible. Like we were both like one of them was I remember the only one I remember is Blind and Fold. Blind and Fold was what he wanted us to call our band, and I was like, "That's not gonna do it."
That's awful. I'm sorry.
And we already
Blind
had
and
8
Fold.
Graves, and they wanted us to change it from 8 Graves to that, and I was like, "That's just not gonna happen, dog."
That's so
Horrible.
It was so bad. It was a hard no. I was like, "Yeah, that's not gonna happen."
And you guys have
Wow.
like this aesthetic going with it too. Like, how would you have like Blind and Fold? What kind of fucking aesthetic would that be?
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's
I don't know. Yeah.
See, that's a really important thing that, you know, that's a really good observation is that we knew that I feel like we almost knew the aesthetic we wanted before we knew.
Yeah, we had
Right?
some bullet points that we wanted to hit for sure.
And there was even a time like when we first started that we were writing things that were like almost more pop R&B, and I was like, oh, but I want to like squeeze them into this dark aesthetic, and it really didn't make a lot of sense. It was almost like we knew the aesthetic we wanted before,
But couldn't get the sound there.
exactly
Yeah,
before we found a way to get the sound there.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
So it's funny. You're 100% right. That was huge, you know, for us to stick with that. I almost feel like the name was pushing us in the right direction the whole time.
Yeah.
Like, okay,
Definitely.
it sounds like 8 Graves.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Wow. that's good you chose that one because the other one is tragic.
I'm with
Yeah.
you. I was like, this is what we waited for. And they did this big like unveiling, like, all right, are you ready?
Oh no, they hyped it up.
And I was like, all these are terrible. So
Absolutely horrible.
It's kind of funny that way.
Yeah. So congrats on your newest release, Red.
Thank you very much.
Of course. How do you feel about the response to it so far?
It's awesome.
Yeah. We've arrived at this point where every time we do a release, the song does a little better than the last. And it's funny because as you know, when you make music, you kind of have this preconceived notion about how the song's going to do. And that may or may not really impact your love of the song, right? Like there's songs that we really, really like. Like for us, I think Teeth, Teeth was the one that we were like, oh, this isn't going to do as well as the other songs because it's a little more aggressive, it's a little bit more harsh, and it tends to be, I know it's probably a little bit less universally listenable, right? But we were still love it, and we're still super proud of it. But we didn't think it was going to do that well, and then it wound up having the biggest release of a single that we've ever had. Yeah. So and now Evil has kind of supplanted that as our biggest release. So every time we are releasing something, we're just seeing this.
You're counting.
I mean, that's what you want.
Yeah.
Now it's just got to keep building.
Exactly.
And that's the thing. I think we're doing it playing kind of a long game, Like it's very easy to sign a deal or like get a bunch of money lent to you and kind of use that to kind of, skyrocket up really fast. But I think you have a lot more stability and safety. And also I find a great sense of pride in the fact that we've been laying everything kind of from the ground to foundation. None of the plays or follows or, whatever we have, they're all real, right? There's we didn't pay for an Instagram account with 25,000 followers, right? We didn't like everything we have is real. So, and we see now that does equate to having your project be sustainable in the long term. So it's really cool.
Yeah,
very comforting.
Yeah, paying your way to the top is definitely that way to make like the one hit wonder. So
exactly.
Definitely.
And you can have an immense amount of success very, very quickly, but you will fall just as fast as you shot up.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. So can you tell me a little bit about your writing process for this EP and how it changed from like your first release to now?
Definitely changed
a lot.
I mean, obviously, COVID, quarantine, and stuff. Couldn't see each other. So typically it would be like, hey, Brent, I got this idea. It's a minute and a half of music, loop it, show me what you got, pass it back and forth, come over, he'd track it. We kind of like hash out some vocal ideas, like, together. But now it's like, all right, well, I can't record you anymore. So you have to buy all the equipment and set it all up at your place and have all the frustration that comes along with it because I did all the audio engineering, so.
I'm notoriously terrible with technology and Nick is brilliant with it. So it's like me making the mistakes that Nick made like 5 years ago, 15 years ago, and me being like, why isn't this working? And Nick's like, you didn't do this. Like you didn't flick this one switch. You didn't click this one button. And I'd be like, oh my God, I have to redo that whole thing now,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but it opened up opportunities to kind of demo and work with vocals in a place where it's more intimate and at your own like time. Like it's not like, all right, I have off this day and you have off that day and we have 3-hour window to get together and because that's how all the records were written.
We're both working full-time jobs still, right? So the only time in my job I happen to have to work on Saturdays most of the time. So the only day we ever really have both of us steadily having off is always Sunday. So it's always been like the Sunday was like, all right, we're gonna meet up at 11. And then we're gonna like work until 8 o'clock at night, right? Like it's always how it's been.
A lot of pressure, and it's like you have to get stuff done. So now it's like
a little easier.
Just do it when you can.
Because I was forced to learn. So in a lot of ways, this record was exploratory in our process, but I think it's really like opened us up a lot. It was something that I get very frustrated when I'm uncomfortable with my proficiency. I hate feeling like I'm stupid. It's like my worst. The thing I'm the worst at dealing with is feeling incompetent. So I have a hard time choosing to embrace things that I don't feel comfortable doing. And this kind of forced it upon me. And I'm thankful, Nick is so patient. Like, he's so like, dude, don't worry, you got this. Like, just do like, he's always like encouraging me and making sure that, I don't feel bad about the fact that I have no idea what I'm doing.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, that's always good.
Yeah. All right.
Solid. All right.
Works well.
So, of course, yeah. So, where was your headspace while creating Red?
Oh man, not a good space for me.
Oh,
I tend to be very inundated by. I'm very like observant of the world around me in ways I probably should turn off. Like I could easily stay off Twitter and not wake up every morning and go, oh, here's the 19 evil things that happened this morning. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like here's a plane crash. Here's us finding out about Trump's concentration camps giving women involuntary hysterectomies, right? Here's like, I'm the kind of person who I wake up and I read all of that stuff And then I kind of have that in my head, and then I, go to the store and watch somebody be rude or watch somebody refuse to wear a mask, right? Or like, just I see that evil acted out by people, and it kind of just makes me. I don't have the best outlook on the way that the world is. I think the world is kind of an evil, terrible place, and that's where Red kind of came from, and not just seeing that externally, but also seeing that those tendencies reciprocated in yourself sometimes, right? Like seeing the worst parts of yourself and being the most critical of the parts of yourself that you look out into the world and hate, and realize like a lot of that is you projecting your own weakness, your own insecurity, your own things that you feel. So it's kind of, it came from me really kind of absorbing a lot of negativity. And I think that it resonates with a lot of people who listen to it, because I think a lot of us have been doing it this year, right? Like a lot of us have been forced to just take on more and more, one more amazing person passes away, right? Like we had, Justice Ginsburg this week, right? Or, Kobe Bryant or 50,000 people are dead, 100,000 people, now 200,000 people are dead. Congratulations, right? Like, and then watching protests and, the police brutality that has been so, markedly noticed and observed and talked about. And it's just like, oh man, like we all need to have like a national ice cream social or something, like, something positive, something positive to look forward to. And it just seems, what this year reminds me of? It reminds me of Attack on Titan.
Yes.
Like when you watch Attack on Titan, it's just like, can they win once? Like in anything that happened to these people.
Every episode, you're just like, well, this is the worst case
cool.
scenario.
So it just went bad to worse. And I feel like that's like been this year. And so I think that's kind of where my emotions for it came from, and I'm lucky Nick always finds a way to kind of create this soundscape that's like a balance of like this polish and this kind of rough around the edges, distorted kind of sound that really just kind of works for what I feel and have to say. And it's just I'm really lucky that we have it that way,
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
All right.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I talk a lot.
Wow.
No one ever goes in depth with that question. I was like, holy shit, just in shock.
Yeah. Like that was good. Thank you for that. Yeah.
Choose your next question wisely.
Yeah, be careful.
Oh, shit.
Oh no.
You guys don't have any plans later.
So, what band or artist influences do you think you can hear the most on this EP?
On this EP, I don't know. What do you hear?
I don't know. It's hard.
I would say like it's an era I hear. I don't know if it's a particular like band.
It's hard for us because we borrow, like, especially now, music has become so, like, genres are like, it's this BPM with this drum pattern with this, right? And like, that's how a genre is gifted to something. And one question we get in our YouTube comments all the time is like, well, what genre is this? Mm-hmm. And I'm always like, LMAO, I don't know.
Yeah.
So what it is like, there's definitely a bunch of bands. Like for me, lyrically, I'm very influenced by bands like Deftones, like I've even realized recently, like Slipknot, but also like a lot of the emo stuff, like Alkaline Trio, things like that. It's like that, this kind of dark, kind of edgy stuff, but also kind of open. And then, I know you're grabbing stuff from always the Prodigy for sure.
Yeah, it's like all from like the mid to late 90s and early 2000s, like whether it's grunge or some sort of rock or alternative, and
or like UK based stuff.
UK based, yeah. So it's why we have that blend of like rock and electronic going on.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard to like really say anything comes from one place, because I also am very influenced by like soul singers and R&B singers, and like I kind of
I just how the first couple records started to pan
exactly
out that way,
like I was like, I'm gonna let my inner Anita Baker out, like it's funny because we're grabbing from a lot of places, so it's hard to say that there's any one particular artist, but there's definitely genres and kind of this blend that we're kind of trying to create, where we're literally allowing ourselves to take everything we like about music and do all of it and not really care.
Pick and choose, like put these together. What does that sound like?
Yeah,
with this?
And making a centaur, like taking one half of something and another half of something, and we don't care if they make sense. We're going to like find a way to jam them together and make it sound good. So it's hard to put your finger on any one certain thing, but
yeah,
a lot of stuff.
I think that answers the question well.
Yeah, really well. Okay. Sick. So what made you choose the name Red? And is there any meaning behind the cover art?
I mean, it's to us or to me really, it was just an eventuality between like we went from black to white, and then red is I guess really the only other color scheme that we use aesthetically.
So it definitely matched our aesthetic for sure.
Right.
But it was almost like it was predetermined that it was going to be called Red.
Yeah.
But I was happy that it kind of worked out the way that it did, because with Black, like our first EP, and I really consider that our first EP, right?
We've never discussed this, by the way, so I'm curious what he's going to say.
So with Black, it was very much about the way that I felt during a time away from music, and kind of how depressed and I was not doing very well. And Black was all about like kind of that sadness, that darkness, that, Black. It's kind of almost self-explanatory. And then as Eight Graves started to kind of do well and people started to care about it, I became a lot more hopeful, And then we had the White EP, right? Which was kind of like, I always say White was when I started to see like this light at the end of the tunnel, right? And if you think about that, that's white, right? Like that light. And with Red, I feel so much as I become more secure and safe at home in my own head, right? I start to look out into the world a little bit more, and I get really angry about the way that the world is. I think we've done a piss poor job of setting up our world, specifically in America, in terms of making people happy and actually taking care of people in a way that provides them a life of happiness and fulfillment and dignity. And when I look into the world and I see, the things that inspire me to write something like Eye for an Eye, right? Like, let's just steal on each other until we're all dead. I get mad. So it kind of worked out in this way that I feel like we were probably, Red was an easy out because our aesthetic has always been kind of black, white, and red. And we had black, we had white, so we were going to do red, but it did kind of work out that I was exploring a lot of my kind of anger and kind of my frustration with the way that the world works. And it kind of just lent itself to that color, that, seeing red, that anger, that blood pumping kind of aesthetic. So it worked out well. And as far as the cover goes, we've just kind of been taking the same cover and kind of recreating it,
different iteration. Yeah.
So now we're going forward. We know we're not going to be able to do that. There's not going to be like a green EP. Yeah, exactly. Maybe we'll do Sword and Shield.
Yeah, maybe.
Yo.
So now we know we're going to have to actually come up with an image that really means something, and I'm not looking forward to having to run my mind around that, but we'll get there.
So,
yeah,
wait,
exactly.
There's not going to be a Christmas EP named like Green or something like that's not going to be.
Oh my God, please!
I want to talk about the most depressing Christmas album of all time.
Bro, it'd be good though. Please,
like,
please.
Don't open that box. There's going to be something dead in it.
So
that'd be a good song name though. Like, not gonna lie,
yeah.
I'll bank that one. I'll give you if we do it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So what song on this EP took the longest to write, and then what is your favorite off of it?
What song took the longest, you said?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What one did it take? I don't even remember. Was it Better Off Dead?
Probably Better Off Dead.
Because that was right at the beginning where we were just trying to figure out, wait, was that prior to quarantine?
Yeah, because we were working on Better Off Dead like pretty much right after, like that's the first song after Cold World.
That's right.
So probably that took the longest time.
Because we wanted to kind of like clear this,
It's like if you eat something really spicy and then you want to eat something else.
I was going to make a food reference.
You have to give it like a little time to get that out of your mouth.
Exactly.
We needed a little palate refresher. So we had to kind of take a step back for a few. So Better Off Dead was on the
we spent some time on
table for the longest. But the cool thing about it was all these songs happened pretty fast.
Yes. Like 2 weeks, 3 weeks maybe.
Because we were actually home and not working.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the times that we have time limitations, it's because we have to do our IRL jobs, right? So for me, like I work right now, I'm working like 60 hours a week, and then I get home and then I have to like stuff food in my face, and then I get to work on music from like 10 p.m. to like 2 or 3 in the
And
morning
respond to all the YouTube comments.
and do all the YouTube comments
manually every single one.
Answer our emails and, try to do all this other stuff. So it's always about trying to pack stuff in. And it was always a question in my head, like if we really had the time, I wonder how we would respond. And we finally got that question answered. When we had the time, we could bang songs out really, really fast. So it's just about getting to a point where that's all we're doing, right? Getting full time. So all these songs happened real fast because we had the availability to do them.
Yeah.
Which is awesome because now we know we can do it, but it's also frustrating as all hell at the same time because it's like we could just
go back to that place.
If we could just be there, then it's easier.
That's the goal.
So they all happen pretty fast, man. But Better Off Dead took the longest just because we were really kind of taking our time to figure out where we wanted to go with the next batch of songs.
Okay.
Okay.
But the favorite one is we probably have different ones.
Yours is Teeth.
Mine's Teeth. Yeah.
Yeah. Mine's Better Off Dead for sure.
Okay. Taste.
Both solid.
Oh yeah, definitely. So were there any songs that were like cut off of the EP, and will they ever see the light of day?
Have the luxury
Don't have
of doing
that
that.
out.
Oh.
No.
Why? White?
Actually, that's not true. We did have 2 songs. Okay, so here's the deal. So when because of our writing process, like we make, like Nick says, we'll make a short loop, and then I'll write like a one pass, right? Like a verse, a pre-chorus, and a chorus, right? And I'll send that to Nick, and he'll be like, "Nah," and I'm like, "Okay," and then that goes in the garbage, right?
Yeah.
So we actually had 3 or 4 songs that I did write. There was, I don't know,
for Red or in total?
For Red. Cold was the one off of White that didn't make it.
Right.
Then there was, I don't know, there was Sundown, there was, right? So there was a couple songs that I made that we were like, nah, like, but they don't really become songs. It's almost like they're little eggs and they never hatch. They just, they go in the carton and go in the fridge.
Yeah.
And then maybe later I can take some of the lyrics I wrote for them and recombine them into some
kind of cannibalize them.
Exactly.
Or I'll even take pieces from production, you know, just like, oh, you know what? That bridge in that one song was actually pretty good. Let's use it.
Exactly.
You know?
Like we wrote the Cold that we wrote for White, didn't make the record. And then we've tried to fit that bridge into like 10 different songs because we wrote this really great bridge. And we're just like, get in there.
Yeah.
Kind of stuff. And it just is not working
popping out.
Exactly.
So it is what it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think I kind of get the vibe you want listeners to have while listening to this record, but like, what is that specific vibe? Do you have one?
What would you like people to take away from it, Nick?
Vibe wise, it's funny because I'm always like trying to write something that's like edgy and aggressive. And when it comes time to execution, a lot of time people are like, you know, this feels kind of chill. I'm like, you feel chill listening to this? And it doesn't feel like that to me when I'm in my speakers and whatnot. Even like with Evil, people like we have like a drop. To me, it's really aggressive, and people say, "Oh, yeah, it's actually pretty chill."
Chill.
I'm like,
it's pretty chill.
I don't see that. So I think my perspective is not the way it would be to someone who's like, you know, not, you know, their face right up inside of it. You know, people from 30,000 feet can see it and hear it differently than I can. As far as like a goal for a vibe, I don't ever have a goal. I just sit in front of it and like I have, you know, a couple of components to work with, and I just start messing around and I kind of just watch myself produce the song. And I don't, every once in a while I'll be like, is that good? And I'll be like, yeah, that's fine. And I keep going, you know, but honestly, it's just like, it just happens now at this point. There's a lot of stabbing in the dark when we were first amateur musicians, if we're not amateurs now.
If we're not, I don't know.
Now?
I don't know.
You're professional now.
Early on, it was like, I don't know what I was doing. And that was kind of like, you have certain abilities to do certain things and, you know, don't have the skills yet. But now I feel like we have all the tools we need for now. Yeah. And it's just, it kind of writes itself, you know, lyrically, sometimes it's like, okay.
Yeah. I kind of get to dictate the vibe a little bit more because of what the lyrics are, you know? Mm-hmm. So, and obviously that goes a long way into, like, if you listen to like the instrumental for Better Off Dead, for instance, it's kind of like, it's just chill and like kind of dark. But then, you know, you hear the lyric on Better Off Dead. It's like, well, there's what it's about. You know, it's like,
yeah.
So for me, I think that the thing I always want to have people come away with is I want people to feel one of two things. I either want people to be uncomfortable because I'm talking about some stuff that is, I don't think, talked about enough, right? Like, I don't think that people embrace the kind of dark and kind of negative sides of their feelings enough. And I think that because of that, people start to feel really badly about themselves for feeling those things, right?
Mhm.
Like, if you feel like you're imperfect, if you feel like you're a little too angry, if you feel like you're a little bit too sad, you're afraid to share those things because you don't want to turn people off by the fact that you are feeling these things, right? That's why that's why we lose people to suicide, right? They don't feel comfortable telling somebody, hey, I'm sad enough that I might be in trouble, right?
Mhm.
So the two things I want people to either take away is, one, to make them uncomfortable because they don't want to talk about those things and realize that maybe they need to. And the second thing is to comfort people who I think do feel some of those things, right? Who do have, who do get super mad, who do get super frustrated, who do, hurt when they dig deep inside themselves and find things that they don't like, right? So to me, the vibe is always either one of discomfort and kind of, rough around the edges, kind of, I mean, discomfort really is the best way to put it.
Of course.
Or acceptance, right? Those are like the two things I want people to feel. I want you to either feel like you need to think a lot more about the things that you are allowing people to feel, or you need to know that other people feel the same way that you do,
Okay.
Wow.
All right.
You guys are great. Oh my
Sure.
God.
We're doing a good job.
Oh my
Showing
God. Wow. Okay. So this next question should go like super, super fast. I
Yes.
want you guys to describe your EP Red in 3 words. Off the top of your head.
That's hard.
As quick as you can.
Angry,
Mm-hmm.
chill, angry noise. That's
Chill,
my three.
angry noise.
Yeah,
Okay.
because that makes sense, right?
It does. Yeah.
I mean, it does.
From my perspective,
Mhm.
it's finally done.
That's a good one.
That's
Wonderful.
awesome.
Thank
That's
gosh.
awesome.
I want
Well
to break
done.
the
Yeah.
rules. It's finally done. Go stream it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how'd you guys pick the track list order for the EP?
We didn't even pick
We
it.
didn't pick it.
Oh, okay.
People
You
asked
take it.
us that like we don't have a say in how it goes.
So
Really?
our manager, and he is our
Best friend.
I use it like this. He's one of our best friends.
Yeah.
He was a musician himself. He was in that band Census Fail for a long time. He's a very accomplished musician, and after his time, once he stopped playing, he started working in the music industry, and has hated every second of it because of
It's the music industry.
It's horrible.
What's there to like?
Yeah.
it's just filled with a bunch of people who either A, wanted to be musicians and couldn't because they didn't have the drive or talent, and therefore kind of resent musicians.
Shots fired.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, where's the lie?
Yeah.
Or people who come from very rich families that want to live in New York and want to be around famous people because it makes them feel cool about themselves. So their parents pay for them to have a $3,000 a month apartment, and they have a job that pays them $40,000, and they're okay with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much the music industry. And then it's a lot of people giving their friends jobs, right?
Mhm.
Like, I'm rich and I have money and I need somebody to get the office coffee so you can have this job. Or worse, I need a vice president of my company.
Oh.
And
Yeah.
you're my buddy, so here you go. You have no idea what the hell you're doing.
But you're my friend, so have this
yeah,
job.
but, here, and we'll figure it out.
Yeah. it's
Yeah.
Okay.
And Glitta, his name's Mike. So Mike, his last name is Glitta. We call him Glitta. But Mike is literally brilliant.
Eight Graves would not exist without him.
Aw.
It's impossible that we would be a thing without him.
It would be an audience of 2 without him, for
Straight
sure.
up.
Yep.
And he literally is so smart and so attuned with what he thinks will work. And at first we were like, I don't know, man.
Yep.
You're kind of talking crazy, And then we just started doing everything he asked us to do.
We're like,
And
oh,
it just
he's
was like,
kinda
oh,
right.
so every single thing you've have suggested has worked.
or
So-
predicted. Yeah,
So he goes to us and he says, this should be the track record. And we're like, okay.
that sounds good.
Sounds great.
We're just like, all right, no arguments here. And it's because he not only is obviously intelligent in the way that the industry works and the way the business end works, but also he knows a ton about music. He's a brilliant musician. He plays guitar, he plays bass, he plays drums, he can sing, he writes songs. So, we're lucky that we have somebody who is both super intelligent in the way that the business works, but also understands what it's like to be an artist and understands the artistic end of it. And I tell all of my friends who are musicians that are, so this guy, he works at this company, he wants to work with my band. Should I go? The first thing I say is, have they ever played music? And if they haven't, then I'm like, no.
Yeah, they only tell you about the people they know. I know this guy, and I used to do this. Okay, go away.
Don't care. To me, there's no reason that anybody who doesn't understand music should be handling your musical career.
Yeah.
So
That's an absolute prerequisite.
it's like, it's basically playing in a band is the equivalent of having had played in a band is the equivalent of having a bachelor's degree in the music world, right? In my opinion,
I would say.
So we're really lucky. But Glitta picked the track order. He does that sometimes. He actually recently was like, we should think about how we're going to set songs up for the next. He's always trying to line stuff up for us and show us how things should go, and we trust him. So we just kind of listen to him. And I'm not good with that stuff because I'm not that big picture. I'm very what I'm feeling right this very second, and and Glitta's the opposite. He always is
It's
looking.
What's tomorrow? What's next month? What's next year? What's 5 years from now?
He's always looking down from
at.
30,000 feet away. And Nick, you exist somewhere in the middle of that.
Yes.
So it's good. We have that balance. We have now, next week, next year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow,
Do you guys
that's
at least
perfect.
Do you guys at least give the records a spin to make sure he didn't completely fuck it up, or you just like, this is perfect?
Yes.
I did. The funny thing is, by the time that anybody else gets to hear the songs, we're over them because we finish a song and we normally try to give it a 5-week lead time. So we submit the song 5 weeks before it coming out. You can submit the song, I think, as soon as 48 hours, but we're always worried that something's going to go wrong.
If there's an issue, you don't have any time to fix it.
So we like to give it plenty of time. So by the time anybody else has heard it, I've already listened to it 735,000 times.
Yeah.
So we're by the time it even comes out, we're like, when's the next song coming out?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's funny that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, makes sense. So when live shows come back, what 3 songs from this EP are you looking forward to playing the most?
For me, it's going to be Better Off Dead for sure, just because it's my favorite. I think Teeth for live because it's just heavier and it's going to have a lot of energy. And for me, it's also I think Eye for an Eye because I like to sing it. The way that melody sits, it sits right in the comfortable area of my voice, so it's just like a breeze. It's like I'm talking.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's cool.
So easy for me.
Yeah, mine would be Better Off Dead, Begging to Bleed, and Evil.
See, Begging to Bleed, I had to think about because that part at the end with
Right.
that's really fun to play.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah. So that was honorable mention for me. I'm gonna like the whole thing.
Exactly, the whole
Right
thing.
front to back.
These are, I think, more so than some of our other EPs. All of these songs are going to translate to live very well. So
That's always good.
Yeah.
And hopefully people will find out sooner than later.
Yes.
Ooh.
So you said Mike is the one with the big picture here, but we're going to ask you the question. Where do you guys see the band in the next 5 years?
If I'm not living at my mom's, that'll be cool. That's a big thing.
Okay.
We try to not set too many numerical goals because the thing is, right, I bet you, and you guys can tell me if I'm wrong, but I imagine a lot of bands probably reply with metrics, right? We would this many followers on Spotify or this many followers on Instagram. I don't know. When we talk to bands, that's what a lot of bands do. They have numbers that they want to hit, right? No, bands don't do that.
If they have numbers, they don't tell us we want to play here, we want to see this, we want to have this many albums out is typically the only
World
number we
tour.
get. Yeah.
Yeah.
For us, okay, so in that regard, then I think to me the biggest goal is we would definitely want to try to put out a song like whatever our start date is going to be, because it won't be January. It'll be probably normally February if you start releasing music again for the year. And that's because the music industry shuts down from Thanksgiving to Groundhog Day. That's a real thing. Musicians don't get to stop working, but they do. But for me, it's once we get started releasing, we would like to be able to put out a song every 5 weeks.
Every 5 weeks?
That's our goal.
Wow.
Yeah. That would be, I think...
Hence why I said it's finally done.
Yeah. Because obviously you have to get ahead,
it's a lot.
right? Like you have to get it. And it's a lot. But we would really like if kind of between February, like I said, kind of Groundhog Day to Thanksgiving, we have a song coming out every 5 weeks. That would be a goal, and that's where I would like to pretend. That's where I would like to think in my head. I say pretend. That was a bad omen.
Imagine.
But I would hope that that's where we'd be this year, as we set our record for the most releases in a year. That would be, to me, where I hope we are this time next year, is that we're sitting on a successful year full of releases, and that we just continue to grow kind of at the same pace that we have been. You know, if we can just sustain what we've been doing, we're going to be fine. I don't like to think too much about having like some break or, you know, some like outside thing that happens that kind of really kind of cracks the thing open for us.
Yeah.
Because you can't rely on that, right? Like that would be something that's outside of our control.
I also don't think, you know, how people answer about where they would want to play, like, oh, I want to play Red Rock, or I want to play, you know, It's like, I never think about that. Like, if we got the opportunity, I would start thinking about it, like, well, this is crazy. This is awesome. But that's never a goal for us. I really think it's just like connecting with more people, sustaining, being happy with what we do, and like being able to branch out and just watch the rest of the story happen.
Yeah.
That's what we're looking forward to, I think.
I agree.
Also, yeah.
I like to keep what we're trying to do controllable by us, right? And the thing is, a lot of the things you'd like to do in the music industry, they're all controlled by the music industry.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're going to get on the radio, like if I wanted to say I want to get on the radio, whether or not I'm going to get on the radio is going to be dependent on whether or not we have somewhere between $80,000 and $350,000 to spend on a radio campaign. That's how you get a song on the radio, right?
That's a lot.
Yeah. And most people don't have it. And that's why 5 people are always on the radio, because they have the money, right?
Yeah.
So things like, oh, we would like to play these shows. Well, you go ahead and you look at festivals, right? And you look at the bands that are playing those festivals, and you look up the lineups and you see who they're represented by. You're going to see a lot of CAA, right? You're going to see a lot, like, it's all going to be the Creative Arts Agency, right? They're all represented, handled, and booked by the same couple companies, right? You'll see, you know, like, so things that we would like to do, we know that we're not privy to,
because we're not cool.
Yeah, we're not cool.
We're not cool kids at all.
So until you're represented by some multi-million-dollar company, you're not going to get those things
and buy into a debt cycle.
And that's exactly it. They do that purposely, right? They gatekeep, right? They don't want bands like us to succeed. We're bad for business, right? If we show people, don't give away your masters, don't give away your money, and you can still book tours and you can still do your thing, and right? And like, you know, our good friends from Aviva, right? They're like the poster children for that right now. They're doing the biggest stuff in the world. And nobody is giving them the time of day because they're bad for business. They're showing people, don't give these companies all of your rights and your masters and your. So a lot of the things that we would like to do, I don't even dream of doing it, because I know we're not going to get those opportunities, because we're not going to sell out, right? We're not going to give anybody our baby. We're not, you know, our band, our baby is not up for adoption. We will be raising it ourselves.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, we just try to keep our goals controllable. And for us, it's all about, like Nick said, just putting out songs, creating, finding new and creative content to put out around the things that we create, connecting with more of our friends and our supporters, which is just like literally the most important thing to me, is just getting to meet everybody and talk to everybody, and you know, spend time getting to know the people that are spending time getting to know us, you know. And that's really it for us. I think if we just continue to stay true to us and stay true to what we're doing, and just create, then everything else that we want to do will come in good time.
Yeah. You know? Okay. So I want to bring up that thing that you said about the every 5 weeks a new release. Would those just be singles?
What we like to do, and this is with full transparency, this is also a product of the way that the music industry works now.
Mm-hmm.
So your biggest helper as an independent musician are the algorithmic playlists on Spotify, right? Those are your Discover Weeklies, your release radars, things like that, right? Mm-hmm. And the way that it works is when you put out a new song, that song can only stay in those algorithmic playlists for a certain window. And that window is, I believe, 5 weeks.
I think that's what it is.
I believe it's 5 weeks. If you put out a song in less than 5 weeks, you will kick your previous release out of those, right? Mm-hmm. So if we put out a song and then 3 weeks later we put out another one, this guy goes out.
You're not maximizing the focus on that song.
You're not maximizing the exposure that particular song can get, right? So you almost have to do singles. There was actually an article, I forget who put it out, but the CEO of Spotify said that he said artists are not, you can't put out full-length albums anymore and go away for a year and write an album, right? He doesn't believe that that's now sustainable. And he caught a lot of heat.
Because of the algorithm.
Well, that's the thing. He caught a lot of heat because it's like, who the hell are you to determine
right,
our music? So I believe me, I felt that a little bit too. Yeah. But it's really what he's really getting at, and what it's really more about is trying to take advantage of those algorithms. And those are your biggest helper. And then the other thing is when you put out an album, those songs all have the opportunity to be replaced into those algorithms. So the idea is you put out a song, 5 weeks later you put out a song, 5 weeks later you put out a song, right? Then you get to 5 songs, and then you re-release them as an EP because they do what's called waterfalling, which is they all boop, 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 boop. They can all wind up in the algorithm again, and you can re-expose this huge audience to your songs. So they will probably go as singles and then be packaged into some sort of EP or album. Yeah. Because, excuse me, that's the only way that you can do it. Okay. There's no other way. So
you guys are just beating the shit out of the algorithm, and I love it.
That's it.
Yeah.
You know, you have to adapt.
You got to play the game. You know,
you can't go against the current when it comes to that. So you have to just adapt and operate within those parameters.
There's no cheat codes for it, right?
Yeah.
And in a way, they have given us a cheat code.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and they don't want people to take advantage of it.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want, because again, it's bad for business. And you'll see in the next couple of years there will be bands who are signing record deals with Spotify, right? Like that'll be the next step, is they'll kind of take over for labels,
and then those bands will get the priority.
Yep, they'll get all the playlisting, and you know that already exists to a degree. There's obviously a great deal of nepotism and kind of favorship that happens with who gets playlisting and spaces on editorials. That's already a huge thing. You'd need to do a separate episode for me to talk about that. But but that's where it's almost like you're forced into releasing music a certain way because that's how you grow. Mm-hmm. And once you reach a certain point, you know, then you have a little bit more control, right? Like Radiohead doesn't care about algorithms, right?
Yeah.
They can do what they want, right? They can do whatever they want because they're freaking Radiohead, right? Like it doesn't matter. So, you know, you play the game and you buy your time and you kind of pay your dues to a degree for a while and do it the way that the system dictates. And then hopefully one day you arrive at a point that you can do it however you want. Because I'd love to do a full length album. It'd be a dream, you know, but we just have to get there. That's all.
Okay.
All
right.
Wow. Oh my God. You're so smart. Wow. Okay.
This has been beaten into my head by our manager. This is literally Mike. He's like, this is how it works. This is how you do it. So
this is how you guys are going to do it.
Well, thank you for the vote of confidence. We hope,
and it's working.
Yeah.
So
so far, you wonder if there's a cap, right? You wonder if there's like a certain level to which you can expand, and then if you get at a certain time kind of bogged down where it just is not, it can't grow anymore, right? Like you wonder, you know, we don't know, right? We're exploring this. But we do know, like I said, we have our buddies, Aviva and, you know, our other buddy on like Pluto, who they're ahead of us. And if we could get to where they are, we'd be super happy. And they're, you know, it works for them. So we're like, well, at least we could grow to the size that you guys are.
It's possible in that respect.
So we already have some friends who are kind of trailblazing that for us. So that's great, you know.
Yeah. Right. Wonderful. Okay. So on a little darker note, for the last couple questions, we're actually going to shift away from music and go straight to death row. So, if you're on death row, what would your last meal be with a drink?
Ooh. And you're asking me why I'm hungry too. It's going to influence my my decision. Go first.
I think if they would give me two, I would want like a big ass cheeseburger,
Okay.
and I think a
thought you were gonna
burrito,
say a
and I
French
think a
dip sandwich.
burrito.
Burrito. Okay.
I would want a big ass cheeseburger and I think a
With
burrito
the side of a burrito.
with a side burrito. And
What drink?
And if they will give me a bottle of whiskey, I'll just take a whole bottle of whiskey because I think if I was going to be executed, I would want to be wasted for it.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that would be a necessary thing for me to be able to deal with that.
I would want sushi prepared by a sushi master from Japan. And as a drink,
If you say water,
I was
will
almost
leave.
going to say water.
I know you're gonna say. I know. I know you're gonna
almost
say water. A tall, frosted glass of
So
water. The words.
I don't know.
It's water
It's
or
okay
green
to say
tea.
water.
Green tea.
How do you feel about sparkling water?
Sparkling water? It's delicious.
Oh my god, thank you. It is.
I think I'm gonna have to leave this call.
Yeah.
Oh,
Did it-
drinks.
yeah.
sparkling
Yeah.
water.
There you go. No, Nick is very. He eats very cleanly.
I do.
I'm like a dumpster. I'm like, oh, put that in my mouth. I don't care.
Will it fit inside my stomach?
Yeah, I wonder if that'll fit. Let's do it. That's like how I eat. You know, like when you go to a restaurant and they're like, if you eat this, you get a T-shirt. I'm like, I'm having that.
Yeah.
I
oh
felt
my
that.
god.
Shirt out now 'cause I'm dead.
So if you could live in one fiction world for a week, where would you live?
See, part of me wants to say something in the future with crazy technology, but then I know that like technology is destroying us.
So there is no future.
So
Right.
yeah, so there would be no future. So that I'm like, maybe I'll do like a place where I would have magical power.
hmm
So just in general, you want magical power.
Yeah, like maybe I'd do like, you know, like the Lord of the Rings world,
Okay.
Middle Earth. I think I would live in Middle Earth.
Okay.
Nice.
What would you be? Like Hobbit? A goblin?
I think I would stay human.
Okay.
But I would
Class
want
human.
Okay. Yeah, race human, class war priest or battle mage. My D&D, because I would want to like have those big ass axe to chop people's heads off with, but also be able to be like boop and light people on fire. So I would like battle mage. I'm going human, battle mage, Middle Earth.
Okay.
We're
That's
making a whole
wonderful.
video game out of this now.
Nice. Yeah, I would probably just live in Hyrule from Ocarina of Time.
Ah,
Yeah, probably would.
I like that.
Give me a green tunic, Ocarina, I'll be good.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And music has a lot of power.
If I know my way around very well, you know, I've played it so many times, so I won't get lost.
Yeah, that's true. You won't need a map. I played Shadow of Mordor, so I know how to get around a little bit. So
Exactly. Easy. So I have the honor of asking the last question, and every single person we've spoken to has said it's the most important question. What's your favorite color?
Mine is clearly black.
Black.
Mine's black.
Solid.
Yeah. Every time I buy anything, I'm like, does it come in black? Always. If it doesn't come in black, I'm like, I don't know if I want it anymore. But I'm like
That's
a black, white, and gray guy. We're the most boring when it comes to like color.
Either I'm wearing a black shirt or a white shirt, or you're wearing a black shirt or white shirt.
Yeah, pretty much
That's it.
always. And if I wear a gray shirt, I'm always like, I should have done this because then you pit out from like athletic gray.
That's your casual wear.
Yeah, it's exactly. That's like my gym clothes. But we're definitely a monochromatic, like super streamlined, very modern in our tastes. So yeah, for sure. And I know that doesn't even count because it's technically not a color, right?
It's technically a shade, yeah. But
it's
we'll
a
take
color, right? And white is all colors. So I don't know. If I had to pick like a color that wasn't black or white, I would probably say yellow.
yellow.
Yellow?
Yellow! Yellow's the best color, so good
I
job.
like yellow. I'm into it.
Pick an actual color?
Red's too obvious.
I was gonna pick red.
You're gonna be like fuchsia.
Blue?
Blue?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Do you have a specific shade of blue?
Like his,
Dark
like
blue.
his eyes. Like
The
his
darkest it can go.
like
Like-
on the black side of blue.
So it would be either
So- Black.
Yeah,
I mean, you can be black even if you want.
yeah, it's like, yeah, I'll take black, but splatter some blue on it and mix it, and then that's that's a cop out answer. I'm going yellow, completely on the other side.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Can't help how I feel.
I know. I'm only busting your chops. Don't worry. I love you.
So, as Glory said, that's all the questions we have today. Is there anything you'd like to plug?
I mean, just follow us on social media, join our Discord, right? Like, what we're doing, we're always trying to come up with new ideas and new ways to kind of present our music and new ways to connect with people. We do have something that we're going to be announcing soon, but I don't think it's announceable yet.
Super top secret still.
But that's the kind of thing we're always trying to find some like new, cool way to do something a little differently and think outside the box. And the fastest way to get connected with that stuff is just either follow me on Twitter or join our Discord channel. Those are like, we talk directly in those things all the time. Obviously, we promote all that stuff on Instagram too. So just our social media. You know, if you go to 8graves.com, all of our social links are there. Click into
right
them.
at the bottom.
Follow us on your preferred, and then you know,
say what's up,
and stay up to date because we're always finding new and cool things. Like the thing that we just did, we're really super happy about. I think it's something that
I think it's the coolest thing we've ever done.
I
think it's the coolest thing we've ever done.
That's a bold statement. I will say this: we're gonna release this thing, and then everyone's gonna start doing what we did. And I've only seen like 3 or 4 other bands really do it this way. So you know, we'll see. So just follow us on your social media.
All right. That's where we'll leave it. Very anonymous. So thank you.
That's a bold claim. The coolest thing we ever did. Wow.
Coolest thing.
God
oh
damn.
my god.
All right.
Okay.
Really hyping it up.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sitting down with us, guys. This has been 8 Graves and
Thanks for having us. I
One of the
really
Good Nights
appreciate it.
podcast.
It's always very humbling that people actually give a shit about anything we think or have to say. So
This was a blast.
Yeah, this was amazing. Wow.